Okay, now let's try and find some retention opportunities. So if you remember the funnel optimization cycle, we've actually been moving through it in this part of the funnel as well. We've defined our primary goal, and now we need to find opportunities and set an improvement goal. And for that, we'll need to revisit our old friend, cohort analysis. We'll need to ask, where will our efforts have the most impact? And if we're looking at the retention curve for our entire business, it's probably going to be hard to tell what we should do. So, of course, we need to segment. If we segment by country in this example, now we have something we can work with. We see that US and Canada actually retain quite well, whereas France isn't retaining so well. So now we need to ask, is France a segment worth focusing on? What percentage of revenue does France represent? How confident are we that we could even improve the French market? And finally, how much effort would be required to do that? And then we should be asking, why are Americans and Canadians retaining so much better? And to do that, we can look into quantitative and qualitative research. For now, let's say yes. Let's say that France is worth 50% of our overall revenue. And with that, we can set our improvement goal. Increase week 12 retention rate of French users by 8%, which would get that cohort up to the performance of US and Canada. But where do we even start on that one? That's a pretty lofty goal. Well, we can break this goal down into phases as we did before. So retention can be broken down into 3 distinct phases: early, midterm, and long-term. And where exactly these phases begin and end really does depend on your business, so don't take these time marks too seriously. Early retention is really just the same as activation. It's your onboarding phase. So the goal there, as before, is to maximize the amount of users who experience your core value. This is a critical phase that has a big impact on the rest of the retention curve. Don't ignore activation. If you can get this curve to slope less steeply downwards, then you can improve the rest of the curve. The next phase is midterm retention. This is really where the habit building part of retention comes in. If you really want users to get to the next phase and stick around forever, your product needs to become a new part of their lives. Finally, we have long-term retention. And this is really about making sure your tenured users keep getting value again and again so that they really do stick around in the long term. So if you think about products that you've used forever, try and think about, how do they do that? For me, 3 products that come to mind right off the bat are Mint, Spotify, and Evernote. These are 3 products I just use all the time. I've used them for years now, and I can't really imagine not using them at this point. So they're really doing a lot to make sure that I keep getting value from them. So going back to our example, now it's time to select a phase to focus on. In this particular case, it looks like early retention is actually a really good place to focus because there's a sharp drop off here versus the other segments. And any improvements here are likely to improve the rest of the curve and help us hit the goal that we set earlier. Okay, so as you can see, we're moving through the process and we're getting there. So to recap, when in doubt, at any stage of the funnel, run through the funnel optimization cycle and you'll know what to do. Use cohort analysis and make sure to segment your data to find retention opportunities. And finally, focus your efforts on a specific phase of the retention lifecycle to make things easier.